Hey, thank you for coming by. Tori Magoo 44. It is the day after Easter for me and for anybody who celebrated Easter. It is April 9th, and I hope you had a good Easter, Passover, weekend, whatever you celebrated. I had a fantastic Easter, and I loved it. It was really great. Not religious, but very fun. Delicious food. We went to see the Titanic in 3D. So that was awesome. Really cool. Okay, so I realized, though, after I did my last video on the cult of confession, that there's a lot more with Scientology that I need to kind of go over. I don't need to, but I want to. I think it's important because it's a big part of honing in the mind control, and I think if you see it, you're going to really get it. I've got on my Sun Warrior t-shirt. That's because one of the things right away that they get you in on is that you're kind of like a warrior. You're here. We're a group fighting them. It's us against them. And that goes out in every single thing they do all the time. Their real Bible, they don't have a Bible. For people that are religious, they don't have a Bible. Their Bible is this is it, The Art of War by Sun Tzu or L. Ron Hubbard. But for fighting, they use The Art of War, but they alter it tremendously. I mean, Sun Tzu obviously had some good things that he did. Scientology, Hubbard and David Miscavige totally alter it to a point of insanity, which you guys see a lot. Never defend, always attack, stuff like that, where that isn't exactly what Sun Tzu said. But, or even if he didn't mean it to be used the way they use it. So, that's why I have on my t-shirt today. But I'm also going to be showing you some stuff from L. Ron Hubbard, their new snazzy basic book, The Introduction to Scientology Ethics. Now look at how thick it is. For anybody old who was in 20 years ago, check it out. I mean, their old books were like these little skinny books, but now, boy, they've expanded it. Okay, so in Scientology, confession, they don't really have confession. Like anybody thinks of confession where you go, like I remember for us as Catholics, there's a priest on one side, you're on the other. There's a little either door or curtain. They don't really see you. You go in, you say, tell them what you've done. They give you Hail Marys or whatever, a rosary, whatever they think you need to do to make up the damage, and you're forgiven. That's it. That's all it is. That's the end of it. Not in Scientology. Oh no. Oh no, that's just the beginning. They have what they call security checking. They don't really have confession. They have confession where you can write up your overts. That would be it. And you'd have to still go to the ethics officer who would have you go over these different things. So everything, but security checking is as you get higher up. You have to do security checking. You have to pay for it. It's not auditing. Auditing, you're covered by the auditor's code, whereas the auditor is supposed to listen, they're not supposed to evaluate, stuff like that. The beginning of a security checking session, the first thing the auditor says is, start a session, I'm not auditing you. Meaning, you're under the guise of the ethics officer, and you're a sec-checking person in what they write down. So you start the session, and they start. One of the things that blew our minds, we were like at the top of the bridge, OT7. Their highest level is OT8. And they would start in on, have you stolen any OT materials? Have you lied about L. Ron Hubbard? Have you, broken any materials within the flag land base? I mean, it was just stuff that flat-out criminals would do. They'd be like, no, I haven't done any of this stuff, and you're paying for this. And then if they see a little read on the meter at all, they're like, well, what was that? And you're like, nothing. Well, it's not nothing, there's something. So what is that? That. Right? And so it almost walks you into the delusion of it must be something. You're not going to get out of there without saying something. So you do tend to kind of bring in or fantasize these things that maybe you did, or make them worse than they are. Whatever. Now, people that are in it go, oh, I would never do that. Bullshit. It happens. Now, let's look at, these are just a few of this book. Remember I told you about knowledge reports? Mark Bunker is doing a documentary on knowledge reports. Well, look at all the reports they have. These are their ethics reports. See them all? That's a lot of reports that they write on each other. damage report, misuse report, waste report, alter is report, meaning you're going to alter something, which Miscavige does all the time. Non-compliance report, where you don't do something, you get in trouble again. An error report, you get in trouble again. Misdemeanor report, you did something wrong, it's not huge. A crime report, getting bigger. A high crime report, big time. Doing any other practices is a high crime in the Church of Scientology. That means, in the old days, if you did yoga, that was a high crime. You had to go to ethics and work out of the conditions. Now, I'm going to show you what that means, too. An annoyance report, a job endangerment report. That's like you're working and somebody working with you thinks, you're screwing up the job. I'm writing a job endangerment shit on you. Technical alter is report. David Miscavige does it all the time. And if you're lurking and you're in, flunk for not writing up a report on it. Changing the FN is a complete technical alter is. And that happened in the 90s when I was on OT7. And it was a nightmare. It really was. I'm not even going to go into it right now. But here's the conditions formula. So you finish your sec check after they've asked you maybe half an hour of questions. It's a lot of questions. That, if I was a criminal, it would work. But it didn't work for me. It was like a bunch of bullshit, right? So now you finally get through it. Your needle on the E-meter F ends, meaning that the charge or upsets that you had connected to these evil deeds is now moved off and you're okay. But the auditor has written down all of your bad deeds. So now they have to write up a report and send it in to ethics, right? Nothing, just so you understand, nothing could be farther in the Church of Scientology than the word ethics. Nothing. It is the biggest dichotomy ever. They don't have ethics. They can't apply it. The higher up you go, the less they can apply it, the less responsible they are, the more you are blamed, the guiltier you're made, and of course that keeps you trapped into things. Okay, so here's the conditions. Now they send a report, and for every single one of your bad deeds that you've done, you have to do conditions, right? Starting with, do you see them? Expanded. They've even got the expanded ones. So it starts with confusion. That's right. You got to go confusion, treason, doubt, liability. That's where you make up the damage, non-existence, danger, on up to emergency, normal, affluence, power, and power change. But you've got to work up to at least normal. And that's a lot of conditions that you have to do. And you have to do it on each one of the things. So it's a long haul. Now, remember, they're keeping this in at all times. You're a sun warrior. They don't call you a sun warrior, but you know what I mean? It's us against them. We're fighting them, and you're part of it, and we need you, and that's it. And this is a great book to learn about this. This is by Robert Cialdini. It's called The Psychology of Persuasion, Influence. I really recommend that every single person that listens to this reads that book. Because influence happens to you all through your life. And there's good influence and there's bad influence. And the bad influence is very, very covert. It's often very slippery, very sneaky. You don't see it, you don't get it, right? And people can use you. I've talked to people who've left the Church of Scientology and they're still like, well, I have great memories of David Miscavige and I had a great time in Scientology. And I'm thinking, really? You had a great time? I mean, Miscavige fucking used you. That's what happened. That's all that happened. Your great time is it. And I remember telling kids, don't buy into working with these companies because they pump you up, with power, right? So that you're very, very powerful. And young people buy it often. And it's awful because they never let you go beyond this certain point. They get you up there and you're the director of something or you're the chief of something and you're very, very important. You're not important. The only thing you're important to is another peg in his little machine that is running an evil cult, that is an abusive cult, that is damaging and hurting people every single day. And I talk to them every single day. People who've given them their money and they want their money back and they can't get their money back, even though the policy says you can always get your money back. Just ask. we'll get rid of you, that's it. No way. So listen to me now. Don't give them a dime until you look on the internet and learn both sides. And I'm talking not one dime. People say it all the time, well, I just gave my name and address. Really? Well, here's the deal. You will never, ever be off of their mailing list. They will write you until you die. I've talked to people where the person died and they're still sending mail to them. So I'm not kidding on it. So nothing could be farther from ethics. It is the cult of confession. It is totally insidious and creepy. And I can't say it enough. Get this book. Read this book. Learn about cults. Learn about influence. Learn about how someone can get you and just trick you and make you think something's wonderful when it really isn't at all. Okay? And I know this stuff is kind of heavy and you might like the lighter stuff, but this is important stuff. I think it's important for you guys to learn it. I hope you do. I hope you spend some time. I mean, I didn't have that luxury. I never heard the word cult when I was a kid. I didn't even know what it was. So to me, I think if people can just learn it, there's a lot less chance they're going to get snagged into it. And if you will, please pass on Tori Magoo 44. Make sure they know it's Tory, because the more people that log onto this and subscribe, the less chance they're going to get suckered into the Church of Scientology. And David Miscavige, you have screwed up majorly. And it's only going to get worse for you, pal. I've told you that for 11 years. And it is getting worse and worse and worse. More people are coming out. As they come out, I've said it forever, TikTok, time is on our side. Because we're telling the truth. You're having a lie. And you can only lie so long. It just doesn't work. If you're in, come on out. Because it's the Titanic. You are on the Titanic. I mean, truly and honestly, you are. You might as well go watch the show in 3D, realize you're on the Titanic, and come on out and have a good time. There's only a few boats, so get on one of the boats. Peace. I love you guys. Have a great week.